I'm here as well. Yeah,
exactly.
And my video is on.
Yeah. Okay, very strange.
No, it's Cloudera does that sometimes. I already seen this. It's like maybe either bandwidth. Yeah, it might be.
Okay.
But we'll see people speaking.
Okay,
but we're live. We are live. Welcome.
We are live. All right.
Yes.
Then I'm great, and I can see people applauding. And these applause are to the panelists that we are having today. My name is Daria Schmite, if you don't know yet, and I'm going to moderate a debate on a very important topic, the topic whether work from anywhere or work from X will be the new normality. And we will debate with a short introduction and a statement from each of the participants of the debate. We have very exciting people in the debate, both from industry and academia, from different countries. We have Sweden, Canada, Brazil, India, and Norway covered in this panel. And very well, to my disappointment, quite overlapping attitudes towards this new phenomena, new setup. Here on the slide, we have put up for everyone to get this information without remembering. And we will start with Margaret Ann Story. Please, each debate panelist will get 2 minutes approximately to have an entry statement about the normality of this work from anywhere.
Hi, so my name is Margaret Ann Story. I'm from the University of Victoria in Canada, and I've been studying human and social aspects of software engineering for a couple of decades now. And over the past, I'd say 5 to 6 years, I've been studying a lot about developer productivity and developer satisfaction. And I've been doing that in collaboration with some colleagues at Microsoft, and spent some sabbatical time there, and also have been working with colleagues there, especially in the 1ES team. So the 1ES team is responsible for all of the engineering system at Microsoft. And I did some studies. I talked about this yesterday, so some of you may have been there. I did some studies of developer productivity and satisfaction a number of years ago, and found a lot of different factors influence, social and technical influence, developer productivity and satisfaction. And if a developer feels productive, then they are also going to feel satisfied, and vice versa. Last summer, I ended up studying work from home, and a lot of studying how developers at Microsoft reacted to working from home. And again, found there were a lot of different factors, and we found what we refer to as this tale of two cities approach. So in that some people were thriving, doing really well from home, and some people were not. They were really struggling. And some of the main issues were work-life balance, but also their ability to focus and to collaborate with others. And I've put waiting in anticipation on my slide here, because I am somewhat concerned a little bit about what is going to happen when companies go to whether it's fully remote or hybrid. I don't think we figured everything out, and I can talk more to that later on.
Thank you, Martin. You're next.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning and evening, depending on where you are. I'm Martin, and I'm currently a tech operations lead at Spotify in Sweden. Been with Spotify for about 6 years. Had a few different roles by now. And I'm in one of those companies which is about to embrace the work from anywhere. So that is certainly going to be our new reality, and hopefully normality as well. So with that lens a little bit, my attitude towards the idea is generally curious and positive. I think the question that you asked us to ponder, Daria, and introduce here was, is this going to become a new normality broadly in the industry going forward? And my reflection on that is ultimately yes, but not for some time. So I think that while a lot of the organizations have had, probably surprisingly positive effects of working from, like with people working in the distributed way, working from home during the pandemic. And I'm sure that has actually unlocked a lot of freedoms for the employees and unlocked a lot of new perspective for the employers that it's actually possible. I think unfortunately still what seems to be prevailing need for a lot of managers and leaders to control what's going on will probably stall a little bit that ability to create the freedom on one hand, but on the other hand, also a little bit of fear that I actually also subscribe to around like, how can we actually make this work? Like what happens about innovation? What happens about collaboration? What happens about sharing information? How about we continue to make people feel like they belong? And more importantly, like, do the people that will be working from anywhere have the skills and the attitude that may be required, for example, to over-index on written communication? So that's my introduction.
Thank you. You seem, with each debate panelist, you seem less excited and positive than you appeared at the beginning. We will proceed.
Okay, thank you, Daria. So I'm Nils Bredemo. I'm a chief scientist at SINTEF in Norway. I've been working with 6 Nordic companies for the last year on this topic, and it's very exciting. I think that the flexibility will be the new normality, because last year we shown that all type of work can actually be done from anywhere, and a lot of people enjoy this new situation. And that is not only in the Nordic countries, we also have done interviews in India, found the same thing there. But and from the data, it seems that it will vary a lot who will be mostly at the office and mostly working from another place. And it's also clear that working from home or working from anywhere is not for everyone. I will explain that. In our service, we found out like 10 to 20% of the people feel some kind of isolation. They want to go back. That is for certain. And we see also that there are differences when it comes to smaller versus larger cities. Those in smaller places would like to go more back and be at the office. Then it depends on what type of work you do, as Martin mentioned. And we know that from our research now that onboarding, innovation, complex tasks, challenging discussions, and one-to-one conversations, they are better to do face-to-face. We also know that the office will continue to be important, at least in Norway. Maybe it's the Norwegians, I'm not sure. And we have gathered a lot of data from the Norwegians and asking them where they would prefer to be. And most people say that they will need the flexibility, but they will mostly be at the office. And then we see some companies actually investing a lot in the office now these days to make sure that people want to come back. And some have even realized that they have that need actually more space to offer new support for new working processes, and I think that's interesting. And we also see that some companies are becoming partially virtual now. For example, this one Norwegian company that had a big struggle of getting enough developers the last years, and now they are setting up fully virtual teams, so they can hire from all over the country. And we will see more of that as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for your statement. Next will be Gerd.
Well, my name is Gerd Höfner, and I'm with Siemens Healthineers in India. And well, I firmly believe that work from anywhere will be the new normality. Of course, like Neil said, it also depends on the kind of work, how much time you will spend at home or anywhere else. If I look at the way we at Siemens Healthineers defined it, we have so-called 5 cornerstones for our Healthineers way of working. And one of them is pick the best place for yourself and for your team performance, which basically means it's left to the individual teams that they decide what is the best way to work, be it together, be it at home, be it anywhere else. We also said as a second pillar, face-to-face goes online. So basically the preferred way of communication is online meetings with camera on. And also the third pillar is place follows activity. To be complete, I will tell you the other two: digital user experience anywhere and healthy and safe everywhere. So this is the basic philosophy for Healthineer's way of working in the future. If I'm a little bit more specific about our teams in India, we have a team of 2,500 people doing software R&D, and we work from home till March 16th, 2020, and we just announced that we will continue at least till the end of January next year. We also talked to our colleagues what would be their preference, and more than 50% clearly said their preference would be work from home or work from anywhere. And if you look at it, up to 80% said that they would like to spend at least 3 to 4 days a week from home and maybe 1 or 2 days from the office. So this is how the future looks like and what it means for the office. And also, let's say, for the way of working, I think we will discuss in the other part of the panel discussion.
Yes, indeed, we will. And so for the audience, I would like to apologize for that you have not seen everyone in the screen. We did not know that there is a limit of people you see. So I hope that now everything is fine. Our last, or not the least, debate panelist here is Eduardo Franciosi. Please, your 2 minutes.
Thanks, Tara. So hi, everyone. My name is Eduardo Franciosi. I'm a senior product manager based in Brazil, working for Dell since the end of 2017, but work with distributed teams across the globe since 2005. In my point of view, the work from anywhere will become a new way of work, allowing companies to hire people from anywhere and keep delivering the expected results from their customers. And the pandemic accelerated a lot of things, forcing companies that were skeptical about the remote work to exercise this model, and even still learning about how to implement that model are already collecting good results. Talking about global companies, I'm not seeing too many chains, as they usually have distributed teams working together in different locations with flexibility to work a few days in the office and a few days from home. But for companies like banks, where they had a huge dependence on their office because with co-located teams, because of the business nature and the security aspects, they are now learning that working from anywhere does not prevent them to still run the business and keep collecting the expected results. Talking about the people, we have people that are fully adapted to work from anywhere, collecting benefits of that, finding place that they can work, but still have a good work-life balance. And we also have people that are still struggling with, because they prefer to stay in the office working on the way that they were working before. And I finished my first starts here. I'm very excited and optimistic about working from anywhere, but I'm sure the companies and the people still have a lot to learn in how to operate in this new way of work.
Much, and I would like to tell the audience that you're welcome to post your questions in the chat. Meanwhile, I will start with my questions. In order to test whether this is actually the new normality, I would like to do some role play. And the role play, I would like to address this question specifically to the 3 gentlemen who are working in companies, Eduardo, Gerd, and Marcin. And in front of you is a very gifted software developer from Latvia, which is not actually so much, well, maybe not gifted anymore, but I have been a software developer once in Latvia. I worked for software companies, and I will go back in time and imagine myself then. I'm 21 years old, or let's say I have a bachelor degree, so I'm 22 years old. And I would like to work for Dell, for Siemens Healthineer, or for Spotify. I send in my application. Will you employ me? We'll start with Marcin.
I mean, we'll probably invite you for an interview for sure.
On a distance, or?
That's actually what we do with all of our interviews right now. So yes, And I mean, regardless whether I'm sure all the companies have a similar like recruitment process that includes, you know, some initial conversations and initial screening with the talent acquisition people or HR, and then the hiring manager. But we certainly have had, you know, even before pandemic and working from anywhere, people from around the world coming to Stockholm for an on-site for interviews. So yeah, my initial reaction is sure positive. Come visit us.
But I want to stay in Latvia and work for Spotify.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question. Like very pragmatically today, if like role play aside, I don't know. I don't think we have a legal entity in Latvia, and that's of course something that would be required. I think this is part of our like introduction of this work from anywhere approach, is starting by being able to hire people in the countries where we have those legal entities. Probably Latvia, unfortunately, may not be one of them. But then as we learn more and as we see more interest, we'll probably consider opening up offices or at least legal entities so that we can hire people. But I actually also hope that some of this change will also influence the change in EU and in the legal framework, so that maybe you can hire someone across, for example, EU or Europe, or however it will end up.
Thanks. I'm no longer interested in working for Spotify. What about famous?
I know.
Yeah. So,
what about you? Would you hire a gifted software developer from Latvia who wants to stay in Latvia?
that would be a challenge. I mean, when we talk about work from anywhere, probably, I mean, well, we probably need to differentiate between work from home and work from office. I don't think, honestly, that if you have a team of 2,500 software developers, that they will be spread all across the globe. I mean, there are, like Marcin mentioned, legal restrictions, because we also need to be aware that as a multinational, if you operate out of certain companies, you have certain responsibilities in terms of taxation and so on and so forth, which one shouldn't underestimate. The other thing is, if I look at it, our development center specifically in India, I'm not sure if you would be willing to work for an Indian salary out of Latvia. We can discuss about it, but those are also aspects which one has to consider. And so from that point of view, I believe that the question is more between work from home and work from office. So how much time you would be spending in a certain area in a country, and at the office, and how much time you spend at your hometown. And if I look at it in India today, out of our whole setup of all the software engineers, more than 50%, and our headquarters in Bangalore, are not in Bangalore. They are spread across the country. And India, I mean, it's like a subcontinent. If I say spread across the country, it means that some of them are away from the office as far as 2,500, 3,000 kilometers. It works today because we said that all of us will work from home for the time being. But the challenges which will arise mid-term, long-term is, how do you create a common culture? How do you ensure creativity? How do you ensure innovation and all this kind of questions? And those are the topics which one probably has to answer in the long run. So I would say the future is not necessarily work from anywhere, if you define anywhere, any place in the world as a team, but it's more in a country specifically, how much you work from home and how much you work at the office.
That's a good point.
I might try my best in Dell in Brazil then.
Yeah, I guess I'm with Marcy and Gerd. I don't think we have a legal entity there, but again, I guess the companies are all learning about how to make it, you know, and it's much more where we have places like here at Dell, we are working remotely, but at least for now, we need to be 1 hour far from the office. So we still need to be around, but we can work from home and sometimes working from the office. So it's kind of the same way. The company is still learning about how to make it. And I know that there are some conversations about hire people for anywhere, but I'm sure that we need to have the legal entities and all the things related to hire the people. This is something that we need to go over there.
It becomes the new normality for some and new normality not for all, and it becomes also the radius or the what do you call it? The distance between the office and anywhere is very different from company to company. Now about the salaries, that was a very interesting topic to bring. I might not want to work for Indian salary, but I imagine that if I was an Indian developer, let's say a gifted software developer from India, and I would like to work for Spotify or some American company for that matter, or a Brazilian developer working for a company, the salaries that they offer would attract maybe more talent from all around the world. Eduardo, you have, I will leak the secret. You have shared something with this respect. Could you share it with everyone?
Yeah, we were discussing about that. So what I'm seeing here is that we have people, companies, sorry, from North America and also from Europe, hiring people directly from low-cost centers, and sometimes paying in dollars or sometimes paying in euro. And this is causing some side effects in the local companies because of the competitions, how they can compete with these companies that are paying high salary, and also how they will retain their top talents with these without these real geographic restrictions. So this is a challenge that is becoming here. We have these multinational companies that usually have a lot of challenge, and they have the top talents. We also have local companies and startups that are emerging from the challenge that the pandemic and other things are creating. But we are also seeing people, companies outside of the country that is hiring directly in some types of contract, and they are paying a lot of high salaries. So it's becoming hard for the companies to retain their talents here.
Nancy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super interesting to consider, like, what is the effect of these working from anywhere policies on salaries and on standards of living. But I think that it is already happening, only it's happening in an awkward way. So, and is driving some social change, which I think is a little bit weird. So if you look at US, for example, current salaries if you have an office and want to have people in the office in New York or in San Francisco are crazy compared to the rest of US. But it's also because the real estate in those cities is so crazy and rent is so expensive. But if you actually, we've already created some sort of weird microcosm. So in that sense, hopefully this working from anywhere will create more equitable distribution of people with good income that actually can spend that income in places where that actually fuels the local economy. So I see that actually as something super positive. And they will hopefully start paying some local taxes in those places where they live. I think this is also super important for increasing or helping people with from diverse backgrounds, especially from underrepresented backgrounds, where they can now stay in the area where they are and get a better salary. But if you look even in Sweden, like a house in Stockholm is probably worth at least 5 to 6 times as much as a house 3-hour train ride out of Stockholm, and so many people actually even here staying in Sweden will choose to go into a place where their standard of living will be simply better.
Thank you very much. I would like to drive the discussion a little bit in the next stage. And the next question is about, let's say we have heard a lot about these new practices or adopted practices, changing practices now in the pandemic times. and also about mirroring the office work in the virtual space. But I guess in some time we will stop doing some things. What will stay in the past? What will be left behind? Please volunteer who would like to.
Well, maybe I'll start. The what will stay. Well, from my point of view at the moment, it's a little bit too early to answer this question. I think there's also, let's say, some research still required. What will be the role of the office in the future? I mean, I heard some opinions where people said that the future of the office is primarily the place where you get together, where you may celebrate successes, where you come together for creativity, innovation. That can be one view. The other thing is, I mean, what many colleagues say when you discuss about future of the office, what people are missing today in the virtual world. Yeah, and you can virtualize many things, but what you can't virtualize are those what people say the nice cup of coffee moments. Yeah, that you just walk around, you bump into a colleague, and maybe you have some joint interest. You both watched the soccer match yesterday evening, Champions League, something like that, and then you discuss. And then the discussion goes from soccer to also work-related topic, and you come up with new ideas. And this is something which is difficult to transfer it into a virtual world. Yeah, even if you say that you will have virtual coffee meetings, again, it's planned. It's not, let's say, this nice cup of coffee moments which you have at the office. Also, let's say the whole topic of how do you ensure the knowledge transfer from seniors to juniors. Yeah, at the office, when you sit together, you have a junior colleague who might be struggling, and you notice it, yeah, by simply looking across the table, and you come and you help him. Again, this is something, if you do it virtually, you have to plan all this kind of interaction. So the whole spontaneity goes away. And this is something where it will be interesting how to address such kind of topics. So the human beings interaction, I mean, the natural interaction is not necessarily via a screen. Yeah, and those are the things what, from my point of view, one needs to look into and try how to address this.
Else things that we will say goodbye to something from the.
Yeah, I guess just to add what God said, here at Dell, we are under a digital transformation. And before the pandemic, when we started, we were recommending to have a lot of co-located teams to share the same experience, to share the context, and to share the information. And once we start working remotely, we needed to find new ways to do that, to deliver the same experience to all the team members. Because if you have some a part of the team remote or part of the team co-located, it's easier to interact with the people that's close to me. In the office, we can have these small chats, we can discuss a lot of things, and the people that's remote will lose these details. So how can we deliver the same experience for everybody? And then one thing that we discussed is if we have some people remote, let's do everything remote, because then we can keep the context for everybody. We can keep the documentation. All the discussions should be remote, so no one will miss or lose any kind of details. And then we needed to find new tools to be used, new ways to run the meetings, new ways to kind of force these small chats, these coffee chats, because a lot of things are being resolved during these small conversations. When we get stuck in something, then we can just see another people, let's discuss this point and get your perspective. We can easily solve a lot of challenges that we have in our daily basis with these coffee chats. So how can we keep this engagement in the remote fashion? I guess this is something that we need to explore more, and to keep the engagement with the whole team and the whole people on this new way of work.
Now I would like to address my academic chairs here, panelists, and as being now I will put back my researcher hat, and what I think one of the crucial tasks for researchers is to ask industry questions, not to provide answers, but ask questions. Margaret Ann, would you like to provoke our gentlemen from industry in their positive new future?
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, it's great to see optimism and to consider that it's possible, I guess, to design tools and processes to replace everything that we have when we're face to face. But I think some of the big challenges are interactions such as over the shoulder kind of interactions, you know, where you can walk by and you can kind of peek over somebody's shoulder and see what they're doing. Or see that they're struggling and offer help, or somebody wants help with something and somebody comes over and just peeks. I think that you can build a tool, of course, you know, to show and share somebody's screen, but it's that being able to pick up their mood. And Daria actually went with Paolo yesterday. We talked about this. One of the biggest challenges is just kind of reading the room when you're teaching. How are people feeling? You know, are people optimistic? Are they stressed? You know, are they excited? Are they engaged? That kind of thing, I think, is very difficult to pick up with tools alone. So maybe I will ask the folks from industry how they're going to kind of get around that issue.
Niels would like to add something to the previous question. You have been critical towards this new future. You have been worried, excited but worried. Please.
Thank you. I think the reason for being a bit worried is that we meet so many managers that are looking for the solution now. I don't think we know the solution. We can't know it because I think the shift will be bigger when we start working from anywhere. I think that is a bigger change than we actually what we have experienced last year. So I'm a bit worried about those managers looking for the final solution, the solution for how to organize this. And I think it's about learning and do experiments and speed up the learning process. So I'm just curious, are you thinking about how to speed up the learning process? And then I would say one more thing, and that is we talked to a lot of students. You know, and listen to what they say. And they say the fun is gone. It's not fun anymore. And I think we have to remember that, especially for the young people and the students and many others as well. You know, the job is a place that you should have fun, and organizing it in a way that you don't meet people, I don't think that's fun at all. So take care of the young people.
Yeah.
So, so far, I would like to summarize our discussion is that we're all on one ship, and it is going to the future, to the work from anywhere future. But the geography of that ship is not as broad as we would like it to be, or we expect it to be, because there are some limitations. And at the same time, so the GPS will not take us everywhere, but somewhere. And there is an iceberg in front of us with a lot of things that you have also mentioned: the cup of coffee, the innovation, collaboration, the belonging, that we don't know, the fun that we currently don't have answers to. So me and also Clayton here in the chat and some others are interested in what researchers can help you with in the future. Should we research robots and VR devices to bring us to the offices, or what should we do? So in the remaining 11 and a half minutes or 11 minutes, yes, time flies very fast. I would like you to make a statement for what is the area where you want researchers to work to.
So if I can start and pick up on what Margaret said, I think one area of research that I want to see progressed is how we transfer not only sound and vision, but also smells, because I think that's a very important part of our interactions. We may be quite far away still, but actually, I mean, this is how, like, this is what is totally missing in this virtual world. But I'm sure as technology will change, these things will change. I think what will be interesting is to research more like our employees in a more integrated way. And what I mean is not just as members of the organization, but also as people who are part of the, like as whole selves, right? Like, so how are you feeling, not just about the work you're doing, but how is your general well-being, energy level, fun, because I think work will become less part of it. So you were talking about. I mean, I love having fun at work, but maybe for some people they will have to find different sources of work or fun that isn't at work only, right? And maybe this more flexibility in the way of working will actually create opportunities for people to fulfill that need, not necessarily at work.
Yeah, if I may add to this, I mean, the fun at work, from my point of view, is an essential topic. And I mean, at our team in India, we came up with a concept focusing on the working culture. So what I always wanted to have in our organization, we called it thank God it's Monday culture, opposite to a thank God it's Friday culture. So the people really come to office and enjoy what they're doing. And before the pandemic, I mean, we had a lot of celebrations every month, and where people came together, and a lot of also cultural activities. And what we did is we simply transferred all this kind of activities online, and it worked. Yeah, so we also have teams who have, let's say, every week their fun hours, so to say, every Friday, where they come together for 2 hours to some games together and try to have fun as far as possible online. The thing is, from my point of view, the advantage of the current work scenario is you can have fun at work if you do it right, but you can also have much more fun with the family because you can plan your day much, much better than you did it before. Yeah, today, if there's a nice weather and the kids are at home and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you would like to go walk or to some park with the family, you can do it if you plan it accordingly. If you're at the office, you can't do it. So I wouldn't say the fun has gone, but the fun has become even more if you plan it in the right way. But what I would like to ask you to look into from a research point of view, I mean, that's what I've mentioned before. How do you encourage creativity and innovation in a distributed world? Yeah, because there I still feel you have to come together. And how do you solve the problem of those spontaneous meetings, which you can't have in a virtual world because there everything is planned? And how can you overcome those problems?
Thank you. Anyone else would like to?
Yeah, I would say that from my side and from what I'm experiencing here, I would say it's nice to see how open the people is with their mindsets when there is this kind of huge changes is coming. So like the pandemic, where we need to change the way that we are doing everything. We are learning a lot. We need to run a lot of experiments. We need to collect data to understand if we are doing the things in the right way or not, or if there is no right way, what we can do to improve the way that we are working, the way that we are collaborating, So what we are seeing a lot is the open mindset must contribute a lot to the change, to react to the market change or to the people change or to the behaviors. So I would like to see a little bit more about that.
Nils and Margaret then, how do you feel about this? Do you feel encouraged to do the research? Can we deliver to the companies?
I think if it's okay, I jump in. How do you study if you are innovating enough or being creative enough? And how do you as a company study if people are making the right decisions? And I don't just mean at the top, I mean all the way down to developers. How do you think research, like what is it you're going to measure? What is it you're going to know whether you're succeeding or not? Because if researchers are going to look at the impacts of not having people together, we need to know how does a company, how do you and your company know whether your developers are making the right decisions and the best decisions? So I have more questions about how we can help rather than suggestions how we can help. But I guess I am worried. I'm worried that that things have worked okay with companies working from home in the past year, but that really knowing whether a company is, if developers are learning enough or, if they're making the right decisions, those are really, really hard things to measure, and that may not come out for some time. So I don't know if maybe I'm throwing this back at the companies, or maybe Niels has an idea.
Okay, so my take on that is that we see a lot of experiments going on in the companies, and I think we as researchers can understand, help the companies then to understand what is working and what is not working. Like, for example, if people work together or are more separated, those kind of things we can actually dig into. So, but I agree, it's hard to study, decision making from the top to the bottom. But I think we can, at least we can help with understanding which practices are working and not working by evaluating them and being part of the practice, because that's easier for us as researchers now. In the early days, we just had to interview people, or come and visit a company from time to time. Now we can actually be with the company every day in their practice, and I think that gives us some opportunities to help research.
Let me just recap a little bit on our conversation, because it's the time that we had is almost gone. I would like to revisit every statement in the beginning about your mood and attitude towards working from everywhere in the future, and whether they still hold. So, Margaret Ann, you have been waiting in anticipation, and you said you're worried. Have you changed? Have you become more worried?
I think I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think just hearing, the companies and the folks from the companies saying what they're planning and what they're thinking about. I'm definitely still worried. I think that we are going to lose something if people are not together in terms of human values, in terms of empathy for each other, in terms of, understanding who's struggling, who's not. I don't know how technology is going to replace that. So I hope that companies do think about that, think about how to kind of get that pulse, or at least plan events where people do get together. If a company is fully distributed. So I'd say we haven't changed a lot, but a little bit, maybe a little bit more optimistic.
All right, very good. Marcin, you have been curious and positive. Short statement, because...
Yeah, I will remain positive. I think there are still many more things to understand and learn. So I'm really on to Niels's, let's learn as quickly as we can. And I will absolutely, embrace Margaret Ann's encouragement that we continue to meet face to face at regular intervals, because I think without this, it will not work for sure.
Great. Niels, excited and worried?
I'm still very excited, actually. I'm more excited than worried because there's so many opportunities. Yeah.
Gerd, you have been optimistic and positive.
Well, I'm still positive and I'm optimist by nature, so all the same.
And Eduardo, you have been optimistic and excited.
Yeah, I still remain the same. I guess there are a lot of challenges, but the challenges allow us to go over and experience different ways to do the things. And sometimes it creates new ideas, and from these ideas, new products and solutions are implemented. So we have a lot of space. We are learning a lot. We are exercising a lot, and I'm sure this will be something that will be here for a long time.
And for the rest of the audience, I would like to ask you to send us a heart if you're optimistic and excited, sad face if you're worried, and yes, worried, and a happy face if you are waiting in anticipation. And we'll see your vote. Meanwhile, I would like to thank everyone and to say that I feel waiting in anticipation, perhaps more than being very optimistic, but at the same time, very lucky to be a researcher doing working in this field. Thank you all for participating and for listening.
Thank you all.